Welcome students for our first lecture of Stats 1000. My name is Dr. Shehzad Mian and I am your lecturer for this course. So today we are going to start with our first lecture on the topic of turning data into graphical information. So in this today's topic, what we need to learn is about first of all what this overall statistical inquiry cycle is. As you know, like anything, when we start, it starts from a problem statement. So first we have to define the problem, what are the problems in that, and how to investigate those questions. Based on those questions we are going to plan, and we need to measure and then do a study design. And there are some variables involved in it. Take that data, collect it, clean it, and analyze it to see what are the results we have get from all those statistical analysis, and then make our conclusion or make our results based on that. So this above diagram actually explaining the whole concept of that statistical inquiry cycle, which includes analyzing, exploring, and interpreting of your results. And in the next coming few weeks we are going to do all those tasks which are related to these three things. Now, coming to the next slide, where we are looking toward what is the difference between data and variables. So, if we start with the example of first of all looking to any graph or anything we want to consider to summarize. So that's what we need to understand, like how these things are important to understand between a difference between data and variable. So first of all, looking to the word, the definition of raw data. So the term that is used to describe numbers and category labels that have been collected but not yet processed in any way. For example, looking to this survey document, if we have different questions we asked, and if we have just written the answer like M or 18 or 183 or 25, no, without anything mentioning with that, that means this data is just in the form of a raw data which is not presenting anything unless we are putting with that or labeling with that, like what that data is mentioning to us and what it is representing to us. So the next thing which is going to what we have to see is about the definition of a variable itself. This term is used to describe the trait that is being measured. Variables may differ from one observation to another. So what are some variables from the previous data? If we see this data, where we have gender, age, height, length, and some true and false option, left-handed for any activity. So out of that, if we see about from those observations or variables, what we are looking is gender, age, height are some of the variables which are actually variate with respect to every single observation. Coming toward the definition of observation, it's a single piece of data that is collected for each variable. As we seen in that example, gender stands for capital M. That's our one observation or one set of record of any specific person, and his age is in one observation. So it means that one set of record has multiple observations based on how many different variables we are defining in that data set. Our next point is on observational or experimental unit. So it's an individual or object on which observations are made. Let's take the example of that experimental unit for the previous data set. So we are having in that information given to us, it's about a people or a subjects. And let's take an example, a health agency records the waiting time, number of beds, number of staff, and the length of stay for various hospitals in a region. What is the experimental unit? So we can say that it itself what we are experimenting is the hospital, which actually defines all those things. So as we seen in our previous example, if we go back, we are looking toward the people, gender, age, and height. So the main experimental unit is in that case was people. And our data set is a complete set of raw data for all units and all variables. So which, as I mentioned, which includes everything, their variables, their units, data, and those all things are part of that. And sample size is the total number of units that form parts of that data set. So out of the whole data set, if we take some of the units to see what is going on in that data set, we call them a sample size. But if we have taken the whole data set, then it means that it is known as a population. That concept we will definitely look in few days, in next few weeks. The next part is on response and explanatory variables. Many statistical analyses compare the effect of one variable on another. So there are multiple variables always involved in any analysis. One variable has an impact on the other one. So researchers might want to investigate the effect of, let's say, stress on exam performance. So that could be one of the things where we can see the effect of stress, and on the other hand, there is exam performance. So for graphs and statistical analysis later in this course, you will need to be able to identify the response and explanatory variable. So that should be very much clear in your mind, that response is the dependent variable, which actually depends on some other variables. And we will see with some examples as well today. Whereas explanatory variable are one which are the predictor, or we can known as independent variable. Let's take a quick example here. If I can draw here, if I say y is equal to x or 2x, so x here is the independent variable, whereas y is um, independent. I actually make it opposite other way around. So hold on. So x is the independent variable and y is the dependent. Y is dependent and x is independent. Because the value of x is in our hand, we can change it, but based on the value of x, we are getting value of y. An example could be, let's have a look to this example. An experiment involves investigating exercise habits and performance on a test of lung functions. So we need to identify what is the response and what is the explanatory variables. So if we see from there, uh, which one is the independent variable known as x, that is exercise habits. And based on that, our performance of lungs function changes. If we do more healthy exercises, our test of lung functions perform better. So it means that this is our x and this is y. So as you can see, response is lung function performance and explanatory is exercise habits. So types of data and variables, we can see in that one, we have variables classified into categorical, which is known as qualitative, and numerical, quantitative data. So again, categorical, which is qualitative, and numerical is quantitative data. And also it includes discrete and continuous variables. So these are some of the categories. We will identify soon once we see some examples from by looking to the appropriate graphs. So first of all, start from numerical variables. They deal with normally counts, percentage, numbers, which includes number of pets owned, salary, age, and they could be either discrete or continuous. Discrete are exactly the whole number obtained by counting one, two, three, or any as a whole number we take it. Let's say taking example of buying an apple could be in the form of one, two, three. We never buy one and a half apple. Or taking example of number of children in a family, they could be either one, two, three, four, never be four and a half, or in the form of continuous option. Whereas on the other hand, continuous are those which are we can measure exact values, height, weight, time. Going more in continuous details can be measured in that one as well. Categorical variables are description of things or groups. For example, gender, hair color, type of pet owned again can be example of these are the categories, either male or female. Hair color should be black or brown. Types of pet owned could be multiple options. So those are the categories, and those categories can be nominal or ordinal. So nominal means which are in unordered categories. Let's say gender, left-handed, yes or no. On the other side, ordinal means ordered categories. These are higher or lower than other categories in form of some forms. Let's say you are going to get a feedback, rate someone, rate your teacher, or rating the values from 1 to 7 to the scale of 1 to 7 or 1 to 10 based on ordinal values. Again, with the nominal, they are unordered categories. Means if I ask you about any gender, uh, so you say it's male or female, but you never say in any order who is come first and who is going second. Based on nominal categories, we never ever make ascending order or in descending order something. So it's mostly we see the ordinal one to rate someone with some order. So coming to the next point, which is on frequency table for a categorical variable. Frequency means like repetition, how many number of counts are there in that particular data set. So they are usually used for summarizing data for a categorical variable, and it actually represents the number of count of observation in each category. On the other hand, relative frequency basically is the proportion of the whole represented by the counts in a category. You already have a number of total observations, and out of that, you are looking what number of counts are belong to which type of category, and based on that, we make it the relative frequency. There is one example there. We are going to do that. So a table can be used to summarize the frequencies, or and both can be option available relative frequencies of a categorical variable. Looking to this example can give you a good understanding of how we can say it's a frequency or a relative frequency. Let's have a look toward that example where people's color are going to be mentioned. So here we can see the number of rows we have four, where the people colors are given in the form of blue, green, red, yellow. So, and then total number of observations were 200. Different count number shown for different categories of blue, green, red, and yellow, and that is actually known as the frequency of those different categories. Whereas second column explains the relative frequency out of those 200 values. Now let's see the relative frequency of blue. So remember that relative frequency is always out of the percentage of 100. So we can say that like 38 divided by 200 times 100 gives you the answer of 90. So this one gives you the percentage of that thing, how much relatively this value occurs. So if we see this example, what is the most preferred color? So we can say that red here is the 47%, which is the highest number of option in that cases. So this is the first part of our lecture, and I will make a separate recording for the other part of the lectures very soon then.